Cowboys free agent player Brandin Cooks, who's on the open market right now, feels optimistic of returning to this team. He got great relationship with Dak Prescott as well as Cee Dee Lamb and the Jones family. He's spoken with Josina Anderson, so it's more than likely that he could return to the Cowboys based off of this article that he spoken with Josina Anderson. And I can tell you guys that Brandin Cooks, he is one of those veteran guys that you can look back on and say, yeah, with his overall skill set and what he brings to the table, his veteran leadership. Now, he didn't fit well with the team last season on those hook routes and those stop routes coming back, but I think that you can utilize him on deep overs, some intermediate and short routes where he's in motion. I think that's where you have to utilize and use Brandin Cooks. I think that if you look back at his skill set and what he brings to the table, do he possess some of the speed? Yes. But in actuality, with all fairness due to what the Cowboys looked like last season and things like that, you can literally argue and say, hey, let's not bring him back, and especially looking at the way this season looked like. Yes, he's 11-year pro. Yes, he's a former first-round draft pick in 2014 and things like that, and they got him down as a market value of $5.2 million. And I'm looking at that, and you're looking at what he brings to the table. We got too many guys that we drafted that we didn't get a chance to see. And we talked about this earlier today on the live show. You got Jalen Brooks, you got Jalen Tolbert, you got Ron Flournoy, you got Jonathan Mingo, you got still Cavante Turpin. You got a lot of guys that you don't really know, that you can't really see what they can do because you got a veteran guy that's in the mix. Now, granted, when we banged on the table for DK Metcalf, that's a different storyline because of the simple fact you can put him at the X spot or the outside spot and you can run it, right? But with Brandin Cooks, I think that by Cee Dee Lamb primarily lining up anywhere but he get his work done, two-way goes inside the slot, well, that's where you want Cooks at. So when you look at it organically and you see Cooks on the outside, I mean, we've seen literally DBs wave him off and say, hey, we got help over the top. And if he can run, if we can convert him back inside, that's okay because we will live with that. There's too many things that you can do to shield off Brandin Cooks. Now, the year before last, he was a very good guy for us on those deep crosses or deep overs and things like that. But those are long developing plays that you have to have your offensive line up front blocking for them, right? So for him. So it's one of those things whereas it's a hard no to bring him back and it's a soft yes, like maybe, but it's a hard no, like no, he ain't coming back. No. And I think that the Cowboys, if they do bring him back, and if they do bring him into the building, and if they do pay the $5.2 million, even though we have $54 million to spend, right, at some shape, form, or fashion, you have to stay true to yourself and say, okay, why did we draft Jalen Tolbert? Why did we use draft capital for Jonathan Mingo, right? And who is Jalen Brooks? Can we find out who he is, right? And those are things that you have to ask yourself. And truth be said, the NFL don't care about your excuses of not being able to stay healthy because if you get a long, older in the tooth wide receiver that been banged up for the last 2 seasons, that's on you. It's not on the NFL. Now, once again, you got to weigh out your cons and pros. Is he a veteran? Yes. Do he bring some shape, form, or fashion leadership to the team? Yes. He's good with the Jones family. He's good with Dak Prescott. He's good with Cee Dee Lamb. Those are all yeses. But will this be a situation and scenario that you can look back on and say, all right, let's utilize and use Cook to our best capabilities? And that would be something that Shotty gonna have to answer, because at the end of the day, whenever you have the kinds of caliber of veteran guy and you still have the unknowns on your team, and I'm gonna play this one more time for those who need to know. You got to.
Well, what I'm saying is that there are known knowns and that there are known unknowns, but there's also unknown unknowns. Things we don't know that we don't know.
And what we don't know is what if Ryan Flanoy get those chances? What can he become? Mingo. Jonathan Mingo. You add Mingo and Ryan Flanoy together, Flamingo. What the Flamingo's going to do, Or, will we be in the situation where Shotty looking at this saying, all right, shoot, I need as many veterans as I can so that I can win the room over with my concept, so we won't have too many growing pains. There'll be a question to ask there to all of you all. Do you want Brandin Cooks back on this team? Put 3 in the chat. That's his number, what he was wearing when he was with the silver and blue. Do you want 3 back, right? Or would you like to go ahead and draft another wide receiver or dance around with someone else in the free agency? Post me your thoughts. Post me your concerns down below. Before I go, I will say this. I'm in the middle with Brandin Cooks because I know for a fact that he is better than Jalen Brooks. That, to me, he can provide a little bit more than what you've seen out of a Jalen Tolbert, if healthy, right? If healthy, right? And those are things that you have to say to yourself. Now, Mingo, I don't know. Flanoy, we don't know yet. But I don't want those reps to be used up wrongly, right? But if it's a situation that Shotty looking at this saying, I can't deal with the experimental situation, and I want to be able to make sure that I got my best players out there, give me Brandin Cooks over those boys. And let it be Cee Dee Lamb, Cooks, and Tolbert or Flamingo with Jonathan Mingo and Ryan Flanoy. Post me your thoughts, post me your concerns down below. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best of Brandin Cooks. Should he be back with the silver and blue and the star on the side of his helmet, taking over for this team as your slot guy / outside guy with speed, DC for life, not for short. Peace. We up out. One love.